Hello and welcome to another episode of the Property Edge podcast. My name is Rob Turnbull and today I'm really excited to be going down a bit of a different track. We're going to talk all things data, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Tristan Lovell from GoList and NextR. Tristan, welcome to the pod.
Thank you very much, Rob. It's great.
Let's start with about you. Let's discover how your journey in PropTech has evolved and what you do now.
Yeah, I started in PropTech over 20 years now. So 2004, started my first PropTech business with my brother, and that was Splash Displays. And we pioneered the digital window display for real estate agencies all over Australia. So, that was a huge amount of lessons learned there. Built a massive network. And after that, worked at AgentBox for 5 years, working with the CEO Eddie, and he's still at AgentBox, which is testament to Repeat. And so after that, went to Rita. So had an offering to the market to really help agents prospect using some AI built into that solution to take the guesswork out of who to call, what to say, and to basically mine for opportunity in the database using two-way SMS. So now in the past year, I've just been consulting, rebuilding databases, coaching agents, and also researching the market on what's the next thing, what do agents really need, what's the biggest problem to solve, going into 2025 and beyond. So that's what I've been researching. That's what GoList is.
Well, there we go. We can talk about GoList as well. I mean, this is cutting edge stuff. When Rita came out, it certainly made a lot of waves in the industry, and I know a lot of agents are really happy. Agencies are really happy with it. And of course, as a vendor, as a consultant now, you really need to be on the cutting edge, understanding what's coming and helping people maybe not go cutting edge, but at least be one step behind so that they're using validated products. In your experience, in your consulting experience over the last 12 months or so, what have been the key categories of work that you get called in for, and what are the key lessons to learn from that?
Yeah, well, this is all about data, and I've been working with a data specialist to resolve any data challenge that I find. So a lot of databases out there, like 98% of them have a lot of anomalies in them. They're quite unkept. There's all sorts of agents that have come and gone. And there's different levels of understanding of how to use the database as well, and appreciation of what data means. Okay. So, there's a way of fast tracking through a data specialist to clean up your database, to repair relationships, and do all sorts of things to get it well on the way to being very useful, very valuable. And so the importance of that is to close that gap between you and the people looking to list, sell, and rent. All right. So that's what this is about. This is why we have a database, is to be super organized. So we maximize their opportunity, and we really keep in touch with people and give a great experience. All right. So that's why we have a database, right? So people go back, find it really hard. Right. So agents usually try and use a system, or they invest some time to learn it, but there's definitely that hurdle that you need to go up to actually learn how to use any system. And if you're not prepared to do that, then a lot of agents revert back to manual methods, which means that very minimal data goes into the database and a lot of incomplete data goes into the database as well. So effectively, we end up with a bit of a mess.
It's one thing that I see, and from the people that I've spoken to on this particular podcast too, is that the smaller to medium agencies tend to try and handle things in-house, where the medium to large agencies, they're all about getting specialists in and having specialist teams within there. How can smaller agencies learn from that and bring someone in? If they were to bring someone in, what would the benefit be? What would they see in the first few months from bringing someone in?
Number one is appreciation and an insight as to where they're at. So you always work out where you're at right now. And then at least you understand what the opportunity is, and potentially, how do we do the searches, the simple searches, to understand, how many people do we have in our database with an address, with a mobile number? Which agents have enough data, which don't? And what do we do? Have a way of filling that gap themselves, right? And look, there's plenty of amazing companies like offshore teams as well you could turn to. Shore agents or Wingman. There's plenty of other offshore companies which can really help you bridge that gap in a cost-effective way, and without having to invest huge amounts of money and go through an elaborate process as such. But so that's education turning up to events, that's definitely worthwhile. And I'm always willing to educate and generate more material on how to actually maintain and grow a valuable database, which is going to reap rewards.
Yeah, yeah, and we hear this. I'm in country, South Australia, and so I know from the local agencies here, the ones that I've spoken to about their data, they sort of roughly trust it, but they're quite comfortable because they see most people at the pub or at the footy ground or something like that. That's not necessarily a really strategic way to go. When you're looking and cleaning up a database, what are the top few things you're seeing that's wrong with it off the bat?
Yeah, so there's different segments of the database, and at the top of the list is past clients. We really want to really make sure that we look after those, and that's a big weakness in a lot of agencies, is that they're so busy on the now that there's no time, and there's a bit of guilt there actually. Like I really would love to, but it's been a few years since I called that person, so I'm just going to focus on this other thing now. So we really want to make sure we look after those past clients and the people that want to hopefully refer us. And then, of course, you've got the people with appraisals. So past appraisals, we want to make sure that's accurate. And then you've got property owners. Then you've got buyers in the market right now, and you've got the largest section of your database is buyers that have come into the database like more than 12 months ago, but are dormant. So it's like a triangle. I've got this little diagram of a triangle, which I usually talk to. And essentially what I find is that there's a lot of focus is very much on the buyers now. Okay. So that's a comfort zone to be reactive around that section. And appraisals, one thing I see in a lot of databases is there's appraisals that go back way beyond 12 months. So they're like hopeful that one day maybe they might sell their property. But if I could distill it down to this, it's all about focus. An agent is only successful as the focus they have on what's really important right now. Okay. So what we look for in a database is through categories and appraisals and past listings, those three things, make sure they're accurate. And so when we bring up a list, again, it's all about the list. That's how you focus. And you systematically work through that list in a prioritized fashion. That's why Rita has helped a lot of people to have focus on different segments of the database, and that's part of the value proposition that we had, right? So the things that I really seen was not enough address data with mobile numbers, so that's highly valuable. There's a lot of people in the database with the wrong category or just unkept. So it's in a lot of databases, it's actually not possible to bring up a list of past clients like easily from the contact section. So in contacts, that's where you usually go to bring up all the people you want to call. So usually categories are a whole mess, or there's either too many or it's totally inaccurate. So there's a little bit of maintenance, right, to going, and that's a combination of like admin and moving forward. If you're looking into the future, we want systems to really help us with that. So it's not so manual. Okay. And that's where we're seeing a new breed of CRMs and systems that's going to emerge next year. It's going to be quite exciting next year. Stay tuned. But there's a real movement to a lot of automation and a lot of help to make sure we don't have to work so hard to have a accurate, useful, valuable, easy to use database.
Well, that sounds exciting for 2025. I will say that. I know from our lived experience is that our CRM gets, because if we talk about data hygiene, it gets dirtier the longer the data sits in there, right? So we might type in the data today, but in 6 months' time, the chances are some of that data might be wrong. A proportion of that data will be wrong. And I guess if we're talking about appraisals that happened 12 months ago, there's a significant change there. How do agencies do that? Do they get an admin person? Do they get the up-and-coming agents to be the data gurus? How can they systemize that themselves without having to get someone in if they don't want to do that?
Look, I think you can have some across the business, or an agent can have their own rules, but any appraisal that's older than 12 months, just take it out of that realm of focus. So close it off, all right? And also you could have a VA or someone to say, well, any appraisals I do have, if it goes with someone else, close it off. These little things, right? So I'm also, I'd like to push a button and see all the ones I'm focused on closing in the next 3 months. Okay. And this can be done in different ways in different systems. Okay, so it's just how you use the system to achieve that, and so that's where
Hmm.
I've been coaching a lot of agencies on how to achieve that. So effectively, again, I mean, I, what I also find in a lot of agencies is that some agents just keep their cards really close to their chest. They don't put appraisal in the system, and so they've got their own little spreadsheet to manage their opportunities. All right, and that's very common throughout the entire industry. All right,
Hmm.
because of the trust factor, and they don't see value in the database because I mean, if there's no really cool systems like in email and SMS and calls and so forth to keep in touch with people, right, to generate more opportunity, to protect opportunities, then the agent can probably get away with that. But they're very limited on what they can actually achieve, right? If it's a fully manual system outside of the database. Yeah. So these are things I'm seeing out there, which, if you're a director, then you probably roll your eyes and go, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, that's their lived experience. And so what happens? What does an agency owner do when an agent leaves?
Yeah, so this is really important. I want everyone to reflect on what they've done in the past because what I see when I look at databases is that when an agent leaves, usually all those contacts, those thousands of contacts potentially, are transferred either to another agent or to the director. Now, what the result of that is it pollutes the agent's or director's database, so they can't find the people that are really important to them really easily. And so if you've got a new agent coming on board later on, and you actually want to share those contacts or redivert them, then it's really hard to do that. So this year I've been pulled into multiple agencies trying to undo that, and it's really complex, right? So what I suggest is have like an account. It could be user or an admin account, whatever, but you just have it as like agency name, office data, or orphan data, whatever you like, but it's data that's not owned by an agent as such. And then you pile all this data into that one place. And that can be used for recruitment, centralized prospecting, all right? And the benefit of that is that you can actually get a return on that data far easily. And then as people build relationships with that data, you can put it into their name.
Well, let's now talk about integrations and how integrated different platforms are. How does that work in your experience?
It's like I was astounded in the research for the new business I was doing. It's just incredible the amount of fragmented systems out there costing huge amounts of money, which had very limited connectivity between each other. Okay. And literally that's what we're doing. Either like for example, leads coming into inboxes which don't go into the CRM. And if they did one to the CRM, it's all copy and paste. So it's like a copy and paste epidemic. And you did mention, you've got property management system and you've got the sales CRM. So traditionally that's been totally separate. And that's why you've got Repert and MRI, investing themselves in their own systems like Agent Box and Console. You've got, Vault and Property Tree. So those ones connect to each other. But what I'm seeing, talking to hundreds of clients that I've had this year, is that some have actually taken the leap and changed their system, but majority are very resistant of changing their property management system. It's quite a significant task, as you'd imagine. It's much easier to change a sales CRM than it is to change a property management system. This is just the feedback I'm getting. And so, that's where we go, well, if I'm not going to just go over to a whole new system, and there's usually 6 months to try and do that sort of thing, then what do I do? So that's where I pioneered with a company called High Caliber, so that we can actually connect the dots, okay, between the sales CRM and the property management system. Specific ones. We're still working on some, but for example, we can connect Property Tree with Agent Box and Rex. Now it's already got a connection to Vault, so there's no value there. So there's some things that the industry will get to learn about next year that's possible, which will synchronize listings and contacts. So I guess the benefit here is for BDM, for communication. For example, if you've got a listing that's just come up for sale, you might want to send it round to all your current landlords to say, hey, here's a great investment. Here's all the details you want to know. Keep it in your rent roll, right? Sell it to an existing landlord. And now if you don't have that all in sync, it's really hard to do that. Okay, so that's a little tip you could do. You can do all this manually without a connection, of course, but you'd have to somehow download the contacts from your property management system and manually keep it all in sync, which is super hard.
Now, you've said that 2025 looks pretty bright. What do you see on the horizon?
So next 12 months, you'll see some very clunky manual processes like in property management that's already started. So there's solutions out there already to totally streamline, reduce the amount of time to do an inspection, right? An inspection report. So that's a really good example where it really works. You'll see opportunities as well coming through, which is about lead generation. So I know there's some platforms coming to market, which are really exciting. Not many agencies know about this, but there's some social media solutions coming to market early next year. So they're actually available right now, but they'll become known, which gets 10 times or more the results for the same amount of money, right? So what you'll see is much bigger bang for your buck, all right? But with the experience with GoList, so we're not positioning GoList as an AI product. This fad of company name.ai, we're not doing that, right? Because I don't feel like that's something that we put on the front foot. Of course, it's got AI. Every new platform is going to have quite a significant amount of AI sort of built in, but that's not the front foot here. It's about the problem you're solving, and how much time or how much opportunity are you putting in their pocket, right? But what we've learned is that to actually build and innovate as a prop tech company, the speed of which you can do that is so much faster. So if you're using that and you're not sort of drawn down and bogged down with legacy infrastructure, then the new products that have been started to create even a few months ago, they're going to soar ahead next year. And that's pretty exciting because they're going to be amazing platforms being launched throughout next year, starting in January, February, that are really going to make a big difference to the bottom line and top line of these real estate agencies. Oh yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah. So, and I'm part of that. So with GoList, it's all about never let a good lead go to waste. So it's about applying all the lessons that we learned from our reader experience. The key lessons are agents don't want another app to use. We want to minimize tech trauma to get results. Okay. We want to maximize their ability to convert the lead without having to learn new tech. That's really important. But we want to resolve that challenge of all these leads from so many different sources, website, rent roll, social media, and the list goes on. A lot of these leads go into email inboxes of admin, directors, or the agent. Fragmented, lost. It's like a black hole, right? And so it's just a shame because we know that there's a huge amount of business in there, right? So effectively, what if we streamline that entire thing? Again, use AI, we use all the latest tools to streamline that, get into the hands of the right agent, and have it in a way where they're on the phone as fast as possible to respect speed to lead, because that is the measure of really getting results quickly. So you don't have to do as much follow-up if you react very fast, right? And if you do have to follow up, the likelihood of you getting that listing or landlord rental property is skyrockets. All right. So as opposed to if you left it a day or the next day to follow up, even if you had an amazing nurture sequence, you're probably not going to get that business if you're up against an agent which is just really run that person straight away.
Enlightening stuff. Thank you, Tristan. Thank you for your time today. Much appreciated. How can people find you if they're looking to tap into your expertise?
Yeah, LinkedIn's good. Yeah, so just type my name into Google or LinkedIn, and always there to help. I mean, I get phone calls every day. Really interesting. Just before this, I had a phone call from someone who was using Agent Box, and they wanted some help with something, and I shouldn't step in this, but I really helped them, very quickly, just to understand, okay, this is what's going on, So yeah, I'm there to help the community, and next year I really want to be, contributing as much as I can at events and in podcasts like this. So it's great.
Well, behalf of everyone at Property Edge, thank you for your time today. Really appreciate you being part of this podcast.
Thank you very much, Rob. It's great.
Great to have you as a guest. And everyone listening, thank you for taking the time today. We'll link to Tristan's details in the show notes. But if you'd like any more information about the Property Edge podcasts, have a look at some other episodes. Or if you want to learn about the Property Edge research platform, head over to propertyedge.app. And we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.